Hey, good evening, everyone. Bear with me for a minute, just to talk amongst yourselves for a second. Let me get this thing going here. Oh, there's such a delay. There we go. Now I can see myself. Get on over to YouTube so I can see the live chat. Oh, hello. Alex, Lynn, Daniel, Paul, Jim. Hey, Jim, you made it. I didn't know if you were going to make it last night. You said you might not be able to make it. I'm glad you're here. Greetings from the desert. Thank you, Lynn. Whoop, wrong way. How y'all doing tonight? Lindley, Lurker Lindley, as usual. Nice to see you. New England Bass Assassin. That's a good one. Chat app isn't working. You have to copy and paste. Huh. It's working over here on my end. Give it a minute. Sometimes YouTube there's like a little delay, so you have to give them a chance. Jim, you're already home? 3 accidents between the Verde Valley and Anthem. So you're on the road. You're on 17. Let me guess. I-17 southbound at Black Canyon City. There's always an accident there every Sunday. It's wild. It's this real steep grade going down from the higher country. Oh, you're at your dad's? Oh, you're still at your dad's. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's better just to wait until that clears up because always a mess. Jason Jensen Trains has joined us. That's his whole name, you know. A lot of people don't know this, but Jason Jensen's last name is actually Trains. Jensen is his middle name. I tease. It's nice to see you, Jason. Thanks for joining us tonight. Wait a minute. Okay. Anyway, nice to see you all. Thank you, patrons, for joining me tonight. Is this going out live on the regular channel? Because I'm just tired enough to have made that happen. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. I'm wiped out. But we'll proceed anyway. Oh, it's your keyboard app. I'm glad. It's all good now. It is going out live on the regular channel? Yeah, it wasn't supposed to. But that's okay. We'll go ahead and do it anyway. This is usually the members only live stream. It says members only live roundup. This is the one I do for patrons over on Patreon and the Thunder Mesa Rail Pass members on YouTube. And hey, this is a chance for you to sign up if you haven't done so already. I want to jump right in, and yeah, I made a mistake and I actually accidentally posted this so that everyone on YouTube could see it. That's okay. We'll deal with it. I want to thank and welcome the new patrons for the month of December. Brad Martin, Greg Robinson, Texas Railfan 21, Man of Mystery. I don't think Texas Railfan 21 is his real name. Yeah, it's a free preview. Tom Mount and Scott Steidinger. Thank you guys for signing up and becoming patrons on Patreon. I really appreciate that, man. So here we are. It's 2023. And this is the last time I'm going to say it for this year. Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a lovely New Year's Eve. I think we shouldn't say Happy New Year after like the 15th of January. It just becomes weird after that. Definitely should not be saying Happy New Year in February because then it's like Valentine's Day. So this is the last time I'm going to say it. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful holiday season. And hey, we all survived. We made it through to another year, to 2023. And if you're an old guy like me, you might remember when you were a kid and, you know, they were talking about the year 2000 and you realize one day that, wow, if I'm lucky, I'll be alive in the year 2000. You know, and you do the math to, you know, figure out how, oh, I'll be, you know, God, I'll be really old, but I'll be like 45. And now here we are. It's 23 years later. It's just, I don't know. It's just the date, but it blows my mind. The next open studio, I just want to announce that, is going to be on the 4th of February, 2023. That'll be here in Jerome, Arizona, from 2 to 6 p.m. Be here or be square. Hey, Norman, thank you. We have a super chat. Thanks you for sneaking in there, Norman. I think you're the first super chat. I've been doing these live streams for a while. That's the first super chat. You got any question you want to ask other than sneaking in for the free preview? Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm like half asleep. I got to warn you guys. I might cut it short because I was working up here all day, and I swear to God, it was like 5 o'clock. And I'll go home and see my lovely wife and have a little dinner, and we'll watch some TV like we do, old people on a Sunday night. And then I realized when I'm halfway down the hill to my house that oh, I have a live stream tonight. So I went home, had a quick bite, turned around, came right back up, and here we are. What's going on? What's new with everybody? Anyone have any questions for me since we've thrown this open to the wild public? How's the audio, by the way? I want to find out. That's usually what Steamwood Grove has a big question mark. Gruesome Gulch! Yeah, what about it? Yeah, I'll be working on it. That's one of the things I want to talk about. The next video coming out will be part 2 of the Bandit Canyon, the Blackjack Mine. Hope some of you have had a chance to view part 1. Part 2 will come out next. And then the week after that, we're back in Gruesome Gulch. And I'm going to be back working on that again because I've got a deadline. I got a deadline again. I've got 4 months until Gary Beatty's open house in Riverside. So, yeah. But I got the whole thing that's done in 4 months. So, how hard can it be? Daniel says, I like your reuse of the dynamite shack for multiple structures. And they're like nothing. I'm like, thank you. Lynn McCurdy gave me a challenge. He said he was looking at the plan I did for the Bandit Canyon. And some of you probably already know, so I've already deviated from the plan. That's what I do. I make a plan, and then once I start building, I immediately deviate from it and start doing other things. Like the mine I'm building right now, that wasn't in the original plan. So he challenged me to do Edda's Place, which is the little house of ill repute out of the same dynamite shack. And I don't think I can because it's going to be a 2-story building. And it's going to be gingerbready and Victorian, kind of different kind of architecture. But it's an interesting idea. What I want to see is what you guys come up with. Thank you, all of you on Patreon and Thunder Mesa Rail Pass that ordered the kits off the website the bags of parts. And I hope they're in your hot little hands now, and I hope you've got some ideas for putting them together. You don't have to build a dynamite shack, is what I'm getting across to you. You can build, it's any kind of shack you want out of it. I made a little depot and a little mine out of it. So I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. And tell you what, over on Patreon, when if you build something out of it, we'll start a thread and where you can post post your own photos. I'd love to see it. Oh, I'm getting behind here. Oliver Price. Hello, Dave. Do you reckon you can use corrugated iron flexible strips to be used in the same way as the self-adhesive shingle strips? Not seen it commercially yet. Oliver in the UK. Strips of corrugated? Yeah, that would work better in the smaller scales, I think, like N and HO, like adhesive strips of it. But the thing is, the panels are so big. They're 3x6 or 4x8 or whatever, that it doesn't take that long to cover a roof with them, even doing it one at a time. But that's an interesting idea. I haven't seen that commercial yet either. Someone out there's a free product if someone wants to do it. It's a good idea. Norman says, I thought you weren't going to worry about deadlines. I'm not worrying about deadlines on the Bandit Canyon layout. I'm committed. I told Gary I'm coming, and I told Gary I'm bringing the layout. So I'm committed to have that done. So that's going to be the last. I should never say things like that. I was just going to say that should be the last deadline I give myself for a while, but I'm so full of it. I'm sure I will come up with some other harebrained scheme and say, hey, I'm going to do this in 3 weeks. I'm crazy like that. James Brown, thank you. Sorry for sneaking in. Had a blast yesterday. Still laughing about pirate water. James, it was a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for coming to the open studio. James came up to my open studio yesterday, and a good time was had by all. We had a good turnout. Ran some trains. Everything ran. It's always a success, if you have experience with model railways, especially if you have experience with model railways and opening it up to the public. It's always a win when all the stuff works. I've got a lot of lights and animated things, and of course the trains themselves, and everything worked really nicely yesterday. And so that was it was nice, and everyone was very kind and complimentary. It's always nice to meet people that come up. Drew Doherty, is it possible in the future, are you going to do a Grand Canyon expansion to the like the Grand Canyon diorama at Disneyland? I have thought of that. I thought it would be really cool to do it just like the diorama is at Disneyland. Except it'd be like in a box, and you'd view it, and you'd see the train going by, and the diorama would be behind it, and it'd be, the whole Grand Canyon would be like on the South Rim, and the train would go by. That would be really cool. I have no place to put that. The Grand Canyon is 300 miles long and a mile deep. So even in O scale, it takes up a lot of room. It would be fun though. I would, maybe someday, if I have room for it. Michael, how do you pronounce your last name? Schlobum. Michael, what's your thoughts? I'm terrible at pronouncing people's last name, by the way. What's your thoughts on using 28 millimeter heads and arm pieces for On30 people? Well, O scale people, 6 feet high in O scale is On30 is the same as O scale. Is an inch and a half. So 28 millimeter people, in fact, I have one right here. I can do a size comparison right now for you if you will stand by. Wait, I'll be right back. I'll grab this guy, and I'll grab let's see, somebody out of here. All right. This is an O scale engineer figure. Pretty standard. He's from Model Power. You've probably seen this guy before. He's been around a lot. This is a 28 millimeter figure. You see how much shorter he is. So he's about 4 feet tall, 4.5 feet tall. Well, maybe 5 with the hat. So he's like a hobbit. And it doesn't mean you can't use these guys. In fact, I love these 28 millimeter. These are gaming figures. You can get these from Knuckle Duster Miniatures. In fact, I just ordered a whole slew of them. They're great. You can use them, just not right next to these guys. So to answer your question, this is a very roundabout way of answering your question. The heads, it depends on the figure. The arms and head would look a little short, a little small on an O scale figure for the most part, because they're smaller. That said, on my Bandit Canyon layout, since it's a freestanding thing and not connected to the rest of the Thunder Mesa layout, it's across the aisle and be portable, all the figures are actually going to be 28 millimeter figures. So it'll make the layout look bigger. That's my theory anyway. Let's see. Jim Manley votes for us. Grand Canyon Diorama, scrap the Gruesome Gulch, and the Bandit Canyon Railway. I'll tell you what. If I sell Gruesome Gulch, if someone when it's done, if I put it out there, and I have don't ask me what it would cost because I have no idea. What if I could sell it so it would get it out of here? Then I would build a Grand Canyon Diorama. But no deadlines. I'm not going to commit to a deadline when it will be done. Yes, scientific comparison. Let's back up a little bit here, see what I missed. Oh, well, all caught up. Chance Klaus, I hope I pronounced it correctly. Your videos are the reason I started into On30. Keep up the awesome content. That's so nice. Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear that. I really appreciate it. And I hope you're having a good time with your modeling and your railroad, because model railroading is fun, or at least it's supposed to be. So that's lovely to hear. Thank you so much. Jason says, the trains always run great when you're by yourself. Man, ain't that the truth? As soon as you have guests over, I mean, because I had one open studio, I don't know if it was the one before this or it was late last year, everything went wrong. And I'd cleaned all the track. I do a whole maintenance check before I open up and do everything. I clean the wheels on the locomotives. I clean the track and make sure everything. And it's everything went wrong. But everyone was a good sport about it. You can hear the floor creak. Yeah, it's because I'm not using the lav mic. It's just picking up everything. You might hear motorcycles going by. You might hear bongos playing in the studio next door. It's Jerome. Anything's possible. There might be ghosts that come out and tickle our fancy. It's dark up here tonight. It's nighttime. So you never know. This is when they come out. Let's see. I'm glad that worked right. 32 mil figures, yeah. Well, 28, but the difference between 28 and 32 is minuscule. And what I found is it really depends on them. I mean, they call it a 28 millimeter figure. These ones from Knuckle Duster are close to 32 mil already. They're big for 28 millimeter figures. So, it depends on the manufacturer. The size varies a lot. It's not that scientific. Daniel says, I bought a scanning setup like Mini Prints uses, so you can scan, you can print your own figures. You can 3D print your own figures. That's the future. That outfit in the UK, is it the UK that does that? Has some of the best looking figures out there, the most realistic, because they're real people. They use real people. They get a digital scan and then they 3D print them. Model U, and they're fantastic. Yeah, so that's the future. That's the future. Personally, though, my own personal preference is I like the caricature that you get in guys like this. I like the caricatured figures a little bit. This, not so much. I'd happily replace this guy with a real real scan of a real engineer. That would be fun. Gonna rent some costumes and list some friends and have that. That's a great idea. That is a great idea. Mini Prints is in Canada, yes. There's another company that does the other ones in the UK. Let's see. Drew Doherty, you're all currently working on the book series for the Western River Expedition. Wow. Is it good? That's funny. Well, a little more show and tell. Speaking of On18, which is like I'm all excited about lately, Jim kind of let the cat out of the bag with this on Facebook yesterday, but I said it was okay, he could do it. This is my newest On18 locomotive. I did a little work on it since yesterday. I was working on it during the open studio yesterday and was able to get quite a bit done, which was nice. This is lucky number 7. Its name is Lucky. I was going to call it Dingus. I thought Dingus is a good name for a funny looking shay like this, but I decided on Lucky because, you know, number 7. And it runs on a, here, I can drop this right out so you can see. This is a Bachmann MDT diesel switcher. The nice thing about this is it's super heavy already. It's full metal chassis, so you don't have to add any extra weight. The thing runs great right out of the box. I went for the 3-axle model. The older MDTs are 2-axle. This one's 3-axle, and even though the Shay is only 2-axle, you can't see the wheels anyway. So I'm willing to cheat a little bit to get that extra set of wheels for pickup. So yeah, this turned out nice. It's not done yet. Obviously, it doesn't have a figure, and there's still a few more little details to add, like the nameplate. It's going to say Lucky right under the window. If you notice, if you look real close on the front pilot, there are a pair of horseshoes. Those are laser cut horseshoes on there. That's a fun little detail. So that guy's done. And another one I'm working on, and this is going to be Lucky here is not going to be a video coming up, and the reason it's not going to be a video is because it's dead simple. It's the Bachmann MDT. If you don't know what those look like, where did I put it? One of these guys, hand scale. It's one of those, and that's a 3D printed shell that I got off of Shapeways, and really nice 3D print, by the way. But it's like you paint it and you put it on and you're done. It's not a big project. This, however, is a big project. So this is going to be a video coming up. This is an On18 locomotive. And this is, I'm building this on a Mini Trains Forney chassis. This is an all new cab, new stack. Going to be lots of new details on there. This is a Bandit Canyon number 1. Etta, I think, is going to be the name of that one. Named after Etta Place, the girlfriend of both Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, if the movies are to be believed. The fornicator. Yeah, it's true. True enough. Let's see. Steve LaChapelle. Steve LaChapelle asked me, do you know if there are any On30 Fremo in Phoenix or the Arizona area? I do not know. I don't know. I know of one in Southern California, but I don't know of one in the Phoenix area. So, your best bet on that is to check the model railroad forums like Railroad Line or the On30 forum or the On30 page that Al Judy runs on Facebook, which is a fantastic resource. What do I base the On18 locomotives on? A general layman's knowledge of steam engines and proportions that I like. This one is very similar to the Nature's Wonderland trains that ran at Disneyland. Mine train through Nature's Wonderland. The proportions are similar, though this is just a little bit more exaggerated. But so that one's kind of based on that. This, the Shay I just showed you. This was just a 3D printed shell, so I didn't design this. I'm just kind of weathering it to look like it's been, out in the boondocks for a long time. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Because a lot of decisions go into to designing locomotives, and I like old time 19th century equipment, which is well kept up, and with the bright paint jobs. The serious model railroaders call them circus trains, but um, I like the way they look, so I kind of skew towards that. Let's see. Alaskan Railroad says I should build a war wagon from the movie of the same name. I remember that movie. Kirk Douglas, right? Kirk Douglas and John Wayne. The War Wagon. Yeah. I'll add it to the list of projects. That would be fun. Michael says, I always get looks from groups at shows when I answer ON30 and ON18, the redheaded stepchild. You know, HO is so commonplace. Don't get me started. 80% whimsy. Well, yeah, there's a little bit of whimsy. Caricature. Yeah. I'm sure something happened to me back in my childhood. I was whacked or on the back of the head or dropped on my head or something that makes me design things this way. Good evening, Gerald. Thank you for joining us. Oh, here's something I want to throw out. I have, speaking of ON18 again, still, I have this really cool excursion coach. And it was given to me by a friend of mine who's no longer with us, Vern Niner. He gave me some of his old ON18 stuff that he'd been working on. And I have this one that's built and another one that's still as a kit. But the instructions are long gone, and I have no idea who the maker was of these. So if anybody out there knows who made these are all laser cut, really nicely made. Let me know in the chat or in the comments, and I would really appreciate it. I'd like to know who made these, so at the very least, I can give them a shout out if they're still in business or what, because I haven't been able to find these online commercially anywhere. It might have just been a one-off. Who knows? But it's a really cool looking little coach, which is about a scale. Let me see. 14 feet. No, 13 and a half, 14 feet long. Cool little coach. So if anybody knows, yeah, let me know. Josh asks, why is ON30 and ON18 so hard to find? Well, there's very little that's ready to run commercially available. In fact, there's nothing in ON18. You have to bash or scratch build. Fortunately, there's a lot of 3D printed stuff that you can get. Easy for me to say. Search on Shapeways. Go to Shapeways Marketplace and search for ON18 or 09, which is that's the UK version. The 9 stands for 9mm gauge. So yeah, search for it there, and you'll find a lot of stuff. Also, Railway Recollections, which you can find on Facebook, does a lot of ON18 stuff. A lot of really cool conversions for ON18 and ON30. And I recommend those a lot these days, the conversions for ON30, especially because, as you said, a lot of ON30 ready-to-run stuff has become hard to find. Bachmann has seriously tapped the brakes on their ON30 stuff. And that's a shame. They stopped making the porters. They stopped making the 440s. you can still find them on eBay, but you know, since they don't make them, they're not actively in production, the prices keep going up. Yeah. So, you know, a legitimate good alternative is to look at Barry McClellan's Railway Recollection stuff and and then kit bash from HO scale, which is of course where ON30 started to begin with, for us plebeians that couldn't afford ON3. So you know, ON3 brass locomotives. You're wondering about the donor drives. The donor drives, Cato makes, I'm glad you asked. This one, this little Shay, also a 3D printed model, runs on a, if I can get it out, well, you can see it under there. That's a Cato 11-103, which they no longer make. I believe they've been replaced by the 11-109, which is a better drive unit. So you might have to do some modifications to make it fit, I don't know. But that's a good drive unit. Lots of old N scale. Hold on a sec. Got another project over here. Who remembers these guys? This was, this takes me way back. Not this exact model, but this model of model. This was the first N-scale locomotive I ever owned back in the 1970s, Minitrix. And it actually, they're still around. You can still find them, and it makes a nice drive for a nice 060. And I'm building a Porter with that right now. There's a little cab. Here is the, I shouldn't say I'm building it right now. It's all been sitting in this box for months. So it's in progress, but it's actually not actively being built right now. There's the saddle tank. And these are Railway Recollections castings, by the way. Yeah, so what else? Yeah, stack, smoke box. Builds up into something similar to that. But this is going to be an 060. This is an 040. So yeah, you know, it just takes a little ingenuity and figuring out how to work with the N-scale mechanisms. Fortunately, I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. And fortunately, I have, since I've switched scales so many times, you know, I started in N-scale, then I did HO, and then I went to N30. It wasn't linear, but that's kind of how it all worked out. I've got scrap boxes full of stuff in those other scales, which is really handy because a lot of HO stuff works great in On18. For example, the headlight, the bell, the whistle, those are all from old HO kits. The top of the stack, by the way, is from an N-scale General. Bought one of those Bachmann 440 Generals. That's what that is on the top right there. So it's handy to have a deep scrap box, and the only way to have that is to have been in the hobby a long time. I'm afraid there's no jump start for that. The 11109 is great. That's what I hear. How much better is it than the 11103? Because the 11103, it's hit or miss. I've gotten some that run great and some that were, and they all require a lot of added weight to run better. Smooth, good, that's nice. O-scale 2 rail is almost extinct. Is that right? Is that getting really hard to find? Well, what's the main manufacturer of O-scale 2 rail? Rail King? Am I getting that right? That's too bad. It's pricey though. I think a lot of people that would have gone into O-scale two rail have gone into G scale instead because the price points are similar and the size of the equipment, you know, so MTH, okay. Riverossi, yeah, all right. Atlas, okay. Michael says, I read where Pico is bringing back TT scale. Why? Wow, that goes way back. A lot of folks, young people, probably don't even remember TT scale. That was before N scale. TT stood for tabletop, by the way. Why would they want to bring that back? Why not just do N scale? Um, hmm. G scale sorting also. Well, the whole, you know, the the pandemic hit everybody hard. It hit imports. You know, so much of that stuff came from China. It hurt Bachman badly, I know, and it hurt a lot of small manufacturers. You know, who could barely hang on. So, yeah. And the thing about the model railroading hobby is, um, let's face it, it's a bunch of old guys. For the most part. I mean, I know there's some young people out there, but there's a lot of old guys, and they're, you know, it's a one-way trip. And it's a diminishing returns. And if new younger people aren't coming into the hobby, um, then it starts to die out. But I'm encouraged. I don't want to sound like doom and gloom at all. I'm encouraged by a couple of things. Um, for one thing, I like to. I don't believe in gatekeeping at all. And if young people want to get into this and that's why I do what I. You know, one of the reasons I do what I do. I try to inspire people to you know, use your imagination. And of course, On30 is great for that. And don't be afraid to try something. And I don't ever tell anybody, and I hate it when other people do this. Oh, you're doing it wrong. You're modeling wrong. You're model railroading wrong. Eh, that does not bring new young people into the hobby. In fact, it discourages them. So I would advise any other old guys like me out there to not do that. Please don't do that. Don't tell people that they're doing it wrong. You can advise if they ask. You know, all the information is out there. But you know, young people have so many different choices. A lot of them spend a lot of time playing video games and stuff like that. And you know, there was a fear not long ago that, oh, the hobby's going to die out because everything's going to be virtual. You know, they're all going to be playing video games. They're not going to be building things with their hands. And then the maker movement came along with, you know, fueled by things like, you know, 3D printing and laser cutting and CAD and CNC and just the desire. And these things became available to young people in maker spaces and sometimes in their high schools and places like that, that they could get access to these things. These kids are already super computer savvy, much more so than I will ever be, or most of you us will ever be. So they're able to, you know, figure out this CAD stuff and you know, whip stuff out in 3D printing and design things for the laser. So that really encouraged me. The maker movement encourages me because it fits really nicely in with model railroading. It really does, because model railroaders are makers. We make things. So since so many young people are into that, that really encourages me about the future. There might be less stuff available commercially. We may have hit, you know, a peak in like the 1990s or the early 2000s of things available commercially, and it's kind of, but I really, but small manufacturers with 3D printing, people doing stuff for themselves, that is going nowhere but up. And I'm really happy to see that. And I don't believe that kids don't like to work with their hands, because I see them do it all the time. They do some fantastic stuff. Thank you, Josh. Daniel says, I see a lot of younger modelers. Are you saying they just don't hang out in the same places as the old modelers? That's probably true. They're probably on Reddit. And I should also give YouTube credit. Well, not the platform itself, but the creators on YouTube, who get on here and share their knowledge. People like Jason Jensen, people like Jimmy Powell, people who are just like at the top of their game and get out there and share what they know. Basically, here, this is how you do it. That is a really super valuable resource. And of course, kids know that if you want to know how to do anything, and I mean anything, you could probably find a video about it on YouTube. Yes. Daniel says, model railroading is a huge tent to be under, plenty of room for whatever you want to build or whatever you want to. Yeah, I agree. And, I think if it's not fun, you're probably doing it wrong. There I go, telling people they're doing it wrong. Which I said not to do. That's my run rule. Have fun. Have fun with it. Enjoy yourself. Your train shows have lots of kiddos. Yeah, there's young kids, especially, are super into trains. Young boys, little boys especially. But they get into the teenage years and they get too cool, and then they come back to it, I think, later on. Which is on YouTube, you can find a video on how to use YouTube, and that's probably useful. It's probably got 1 million views. Let's see. Jason says, I hope I inspire something. I know you do, Jason. I know you do. I'm positive that you do. I hope I do too. I hope that people find some inspiration in what I do. Jeff Sykes says, hello from Michigan. Hello, Jeff. Cold and dark there right now. What else? What else are we going to talk about? I usually do a book recommendation during these things. Excuse me while I take a drink of water on camera. And I realized I had not talked about this one. Of course, Walt Disney was a huge inspiration for me personally in what I do and the creative endeavors I've gone after. Not just what he did, but his kind of worldview as how he thought about things. And so I wanted to recommend my favorite biography of Walt. This is called Walt Disney, an American Original. It's by Bob Thomas. I've read a couple of different bios of Walt, and this is my favorite one. And I know it's actually put out by Disney Editions, so it is official propaganda. But it's surprisingly candid. They don't gloss over the strike. They don't gloss over the Un-American Activities Committee and things like that. It's all in here. It's a very nice, well-rounded biography of Walt Disney. So I know a lot of you guys have probably already read it, but I want to recommend it to anyone who has not read it. I think for the money, it's the best bio of Walt out there. And there's some pictures in here too. I usually show picture books, so I got to show some pictures. There's Walt and Eisenhower. Walt and Dick Van Dyke. Yeah. I'd rather meet Dick Van Dyke than Eisenhower, but that's just me. Anyway, Fantastic book. Definitely recommend you pick it up if you're curious about the man, not just the company, and his early life talks all about that. How he sold candy bars on trains when he was a kid. His uncle was an engineer for the Kansas Pacific, and that started his lifelong love of trains. How he got into animation in Kansas City, then came out to L.A. with his brother and started Disney Brothers Studio 100 years ago this year, 1923. And so I thought that was timely since it's the 100th anniversary of Disney Studios. Great book to pick up. Hurry over to eBay before the price goes up. Come on, I know I'm not that much of an influencer. It's not going to raise the price, but hey, it's a great book. Pick it up. Oh. Let's see. Let me catch up on the comments here. Thank you, Jim. $16 on Amazon. That's a good price. Yeah, the only kids on Facebook log in to check on their grandparents. That's so true. There are no kids on Facebook. That's why Facebook is like a maze. They don't want you to leave. They've designed Facebook like a casino. There's no clocks, and you can't find the exit. You get in, and you just wander around because they know they're not getting any new users, so they're really trying hard to hold on to the ones they have and milk us for all the information and ad revenue they possibly can out of us. And so there are no kids on YouTube. There are no young people there. Or on Facebook, sorry. It would just be, my son would be like, no. And that's too bad because, Facebook actually has some of the best model railroad groups. A lot of the old online forums that you would go to, which are kind of like ghost towns now, all that has migrated over to Facebook in the different groups there, like Al Judy's On30 group, which I mentioned earlier. Jeff Brownlee says, both you and Jason have taught us a great deal. My wife and I picked up this hobby when COVID hit and knew nothing. You're a must-watch every video. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're building something cool. That brings me to another point. Speaking of new people coming into the hobby, and you might go online and you might search for track plans and stuff like that. And I know some of mine come up in Google search, and that's cool. And you can totally, here's the thing. If you find my track plans online and want to use it, go ahead. You can build whatever you want from it. I'm giving my permission to you. Build your own version of that track plan. But don't try to sell them. Somebody sent me a link last night. There was some fly-by-night website. You knew it was fly-by-night because it was like they had knockoff Nike sneakers. They had knockoff T-shirts. All this just crap that was all obviously fake. And they had my track plans on there that they'd lifted off of my website and were selling as prints for, like, this was hilarious, $44 each, marked down 50% off from $88. I saw that, I was like, wow. And then by the time I actually got to the site, they'd already taken it down. It was gone. I didn't have time to send them a cease and desist. They had already taken the stuff down because that's how they operate. They use targeted marketing data, which they get from Google and Facebook and Instagram. Anybody can buy that information for the right price. So they get your metadata of what you've been browsing, what you've been searching for, and then you'll get a targeted ad. But you go to buy one of those, you'll probably never get it. It's never going to come because they don't. It's a scam. in other words. So this is a long-winded way of saying, if you see anything like that out there that's for sale, and it's not on my website or linked from my website, like a provider like Spreadshirt or something like that I use, it's bogus. It's a ripoff. Don't buy it. Don't buy it, especially since you could probably download it for free off my website. Instagram is the new Facebook. Yeah, they're trying to make it that. Chris K, yeah, these days I only use Facebook for the model railroad groups. Me too. Same. Paul is here. Paul Elam. Dave, you inspired me to try something that I'll hold off telling about until you verify that it works. That's a good policy. I wish I did that, because a lot of times I get really excited about an idea and I share it with everybody, and it's like, sorry. It didn't work. It didn't work after all. I'm trying not to do that. Well, you guys, I'm kind of pooped out. I'm tired. I've had a long day of working here in the studio. I got a new video coming out on. It'll come out on. If you're not a patron or a RailPass member here on YouTube, you may not know that those guys get the early access to the videos. I put them up ad-free a few days early, and then they come out on YouTube usually on Saturday. I'm trying to do one a week, and I've actually got them slated out through April, right down the line. So Gruesome Gulch will get done as long as the videos keep coming, because they're all lined up. So the second part of the mine build will come out on Saturday for YouTube. Let me show you quick before I go some of the goodies. I'm building a steam engine, a steam-powered hoist. And we got a lot of these wonderful white metal parts from Crow River models. Crow River kits, little hoist, steam engine. Here's the parts of the hoist. So all that's got to get painted and put together. It's going to go in a little shed behind the mine. So that's going to be fun. The stationary steam engine. Here's the boiler for it, which is a resin casting. So all of that's going together, and something to look forward to. And then we'll get back into the Gruesome Gulch. So I'm going to be kind of going back and forth between different projects. I've got a few things for Thunder Mesa, the Thunder Mesa layout planned. The big canyon over here, Coyote Canyon, needs to be built. There's a lot of stuff coming up. So I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight, spending part of your Sunday evening with me. My regular YouTube live stream, which this was not supposed to be, but I'm an old guy with technology. So the next YouTube live stream is actually Tuesday, January 17th. Usually it's the third Wednesday of the month. That's usually when I usually do it. So I'll be back live again on Tuesday, the 17th. I usually do it on Wednesday, but that's my son's 16th birthday. So got to be around for that. Anyway, you guys, thank you all so much. Have a lovely evening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the support. Thanks for continuing to watch. Thank you. And this is the last time I'm going to say it. Happy New Year. Have a great night, guys. Adios.